sure down below you tell us exactly where you are. I want to see a picture. I want to see where you are in this world, because as you can see here behind me, if you're watching this on our live stream, I'm in my home office here in Bali, Indonesia, and I'm just hanging out, as you guys always like to show you guys. I am barefoot today and hanging out. That is the ultimate freedompreneur lifestyle, and I'm so excited to have you guys here. So let me know, where are you working? What does your office look like today? Is it cold? Is it nice and sunny like it is here in Bali? Or are you guys hanging out in your PJs? But listen, guys, I'm so excited about today's show because I have a really special guest. In fact, I met our guest in Bali here just this last year. In fact, I attended an event called Unconventional Life. Hanalei was invited to be the speaker at the Unconventional Life event, and she really shared her message and touched so many people's lives. And so we got really close to a lot of people at this event that were not only making a difference in their own personal life, but they were making a difference in other people's lives. And you know, as being part of the Unstoppable family, we're about connection, right? How can you take your story, bring it to the world, and inspire them with your gifts? Like, the world needs more stories, right? And so, you know, when I talk about a sexy brand has a story. It's got something so deep inside of them that needs to come out, that can touch other people's lives and help change the world. And that is who my guest is today. I'm really excited. His name is Michael Dash. He's actually an author, a philanthropist, an entrepreneur, and a complete change maker. He just released his new book, Chasing the High. Now, Michael's gone through a lot of different things, owned very big businesses, gone through crazy lawsuits for years now with a partner, and have come through addictions that has taken him from not only being someone that addicted to life and the entrepreneurial chasing the fast-paced lifestyle into coming out as someone that wants to help change the world through his journey. And I'm so excited to have him here today to talk to us about what is his journey been, what has his life been like, and to talk about this new book. So without any further ado, Mr. Michael Dash, what's happening, my man? How are you?
What is up, Rhonda?
So good to see you. I miss you. You're far away.
I know. I miss you. I miss Bali. I miss the whole unstoppable family, unstoppable country, unstoppable continent.
What's happening? So you're back in New York, right?
Oh, hells no, I ain't back in New York.
Oh, you're not.
I'm in Redondo Beach, California. I ain't going back to New York.
All right, cool. So we lived in California, so I know Redondo Beach really well. So Michael, it's so cool to have you here. Really, I've told so many people, especially in our tribe and those that follow us on the Unstoppable family, some of my private clients, like, wow, you are going to be so inspired by today with learning about your story and about your book, because, you know, everyone that follows us or that is watching this either on the live stream or the podcast, you've been in a moment in your life as an entrepreneur where stuff got hard, like where the shit just hits the fan. And you got to look at yourself and say, who am I? Where do I want to go? And what do I want to be? And, you know, Michael, I'm really inspired and excited to have you sharing those moments with our audience today and to talk about chasing the high. Like, congratulations. The book just came out. You have a physical copy in your hand right now.
I have a physical copy. Crazy. I am an author, which is nuts because I used to hate writing.
I love it. But isn't that great when you get inspired? It's so easy to write, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's easier for me to speak. So I like to dictate things first, and then you can just have them transcribed and then rewrite it.
Guilty. I do the exact same thing. That's how I wrote my whole book, Skills Are Cheap, Passion is Priceless. It was about 36 hours of audio. And I'm like, I felt so bad for the writer. They're like, oh my gosh, really? But anyway, so Michael, let's get started, my man. Will you please introduce yourself in your fashion so that our audience understands who you are and what you're about? You've done some amazing things. And let's talk about where the book came from and this journey that you've been on.
Yeah, absolutely. If I was to introduce myself, I would start by saying, you know, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a recovering addict. And I'm a philanthropist. I like to give back and make impact. And, you know, I've been through a lot, and I've made a lot of mistakes, basically through my arrogance, my ego, my ability to think I was just better than everybody because frankly, I was an asshole for, a lot of the time. The success went to my head, and, I was back from, I grew up back in New York, New Jersey, and worked in New York. And back east, it's all about just more and more and more success, money, money, money. That's all that matters. Get the job, get the promotion, get the condo, get the nicer condo, get the car, get the nicer car, the pinstripe suits, the watch, like the stuff that actually means absolutely nothing in life. But so many of us are just chasing to get that. And from an early age, I was actually introduced to gambling when I was 11 years old. And I won the first bet that I ever made. And that was the worst thing that ever could have happened to me because I was hooked. And that started a 20-year gambling addiction, one of several addictions that I had throughout my career. So, that would be a little snippet of an intro to kind of get us warmed up here.
Well, so, everyone here is entrepreneurs. We know there's so many things that you go through. And I heard you, and I brought myself back to when Brian and I started our company and our business, right? Here we are living on the hill in La Jolla, and you got all this stuff, and you think that's making you who you are, that's giving you the respect. When in reality, you end up finding yourself hollow. Like we lost everything, our stories, we lost everything as well. And I believe that was the best stepping stone of our life that allowed us to get to where we want to be. So why don't we tap into that? How did that, all of that kind of the shit hits the fan moment turn into like one of your, most powerful stepping stones and to get you to what your mission is now?
Yeah, well, it was a long journey from where I just left off in the introduction. I followed a business opportunity from New York City to Salt Lake City, Utah. And that business opportunity turned actually into a business. And I started a technology staffing company there with what turned out to be an ex-business partner. And we built the company up to about $5.5 million a year within 5 years. So we were rocking and rolling. I was a big fish in a little pond. And, I invested in a bar. So I owned a bar downtown. So I was like the shits. And thought I had everything that I wanted. And then, so my ex-partner at the time and we were just butting heads. I wanted to keep growing the company. She wanted to spend more time with her family. I said, fine, but we're not splitting things 50-50 if that's the case. And, she wasn't having any of that. So we ended up having our own lawyers negotiate a buyout between the two of us. And I ended up buying her out. And after that, in the first 6 months of that buyout, I felt she violated the agreement. So, I had basically bought the company for $1.35 million, of which, $1 million was paid up front. I had to borrow $500,000. I didn't have $1 million. So I had to borrow $500,000 to make that payment. And then I owed her $350,000. And I found out she actually had an affair with the director in my India office. And I didn't know about that until the sale of the business. So I was kind of up shit's creek because the people in our India office had allegiance to her, not me. And I was taking over, and that India office just went downhill as soon as I took over. So that she was over there I felt she was interfering in the business, and I held off on the first payment that I owed her after that $1 million, and she sued me. So that started a 6-year lawsuit. 6-year lawsuit.
That's crazy. Can you imagine being an entrepreneur? We go through so many of these moments, right? Where we're like, I have to make all these decisions. So share with us, like at that point though. So here you are, you're dealing with lawsuits and chaos, but how did that get you to where you are right now? Like, how did that turn you from, relieving yourself? During this time, I know that the bigger story is that you had all these addictions. So you're dealing with this. You got all these addictions. You got this race car driveway, lifestyle, and all of a sudden you're dealing with the shit. Do you feel that happened to you to put a stop to where you were, or did that contribute more deeper into where you were at that moment?
Oh, it added fuel to the fire. Like at the time I had stopped gambling, and I'll actually be 14 years clean of gambling next week, which is why I released the book next week.
Nice.
In New York, going from New York to Salt Lake, I was doing cocaine like every weekend. I had kind of stopped that, but I was addicted to Adderall, like hardcore addicted to Adderall. So I'd wake up in the morning, I'd pop an Adderall, and then I'd work all day, and then to crash, I would smoke weed and get high. So I was addicted to all these things. In the meantime, I was like running marathons while I was doing all this. I was just completely abusing my whole body. And when you're abusing your body, you're basically abusing your mind and you're abusing self. And you can't show up as a leader in a company if you're not showing up for yourself. But it took me years to realize that. And I was frankly just a douche to the employees in my company, you know? And so the lawsuit just added to that. Like Adderall was the worst for me. You know I mentioned some serious things. Gambling's horrible. Cocaine, horrible. You know, marijuana, not great to do it every single day like I was. But Adderall was something that, it was like cocaine in a pill, prescribed for my ADHD, right? But the way I would react to situations, the way I would snap at my employees, I would lead from a place of correction and demeaning versus a way of learning and empathy. And that's how I treated my employees. And of course, they're not going to be happy no matter how much money they're making. If your boss, that's how your boss is like cranky all the time. But it was more than cranky. Like I really was a jerk. So the lawsuit though was like pouring gasoline on the fire, because I had just borrowed $500,000. I had expanded. I was in Utah, India, and expanded back to New York. I had a credit line of $500,000 from Chase, which I got into $280K. So I'm paying off the loan, paying off the credit line, and I'm paying lawyers for this lawsuit. And my India team is like going down. So I'm addicted to anything that I can escape from all that shit when I leave the office. So whether it's Adderall or even working out, which was, I mean, that's not a bad addiction, but I mean, it can be, but it wasn't. It was the healthiest. But drinking at night, you know, GHB, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but like I was addicted to that. It was out of control at that point, and especially I owned more. So you can imagine.
Well, yeah, I mean, just listening to this, and I don't, you know, some people can either relate because they went down that, you know, the drug line, or you still get, as entrepreneurs, I mean, shit goes, you know, crazy. Here we are, we're humans, right? And we're trying to do our best. And all of a sudden, all we're trying to do is numb ourselves. And that's what I heard from you. I mean, the amount of people in the world, we numb ourselves. Like I was a bodybuilder, right? Back in my 20s and 30s, but I was bulimic. I had all these self-awareness problems, body shaming. I didn't even know what I had. Right. So you don't even realize the pressures of society. And this is real stuff. This is real stuff that every single person deals with on a daily basis, whether it's too much coffee, too much exercise, too much wine, too much drugs, whatever it might be. So how do we then get into a balance? How do we go through a complete shitstorm where you're looking at yourself in the mirror? Because I remember doing the same thing. I mean, Brian and I, we thought we were on top of the world. We lost everything. I looked at myself in the mirror with a brand new baby in my hands and went, who are you? Who are you going to be for a person? And you got to change your ways now, and it really came down to our mind. So will you touch more on that?
Yeah, I mean, the first step to recovery, and it doesn't have to be an addiction. You know, you can have compulsive behaviors, but it could be anything. If you want to recover out of it, the first step is self-recognition. Without self-recognition, we cannot address anything else. And there has to be a moment where we have that. I had several of those moments, from gambling to cocaine. But if we just skip to Adderall, because that's where I feel like, because I was taking it every day in the office at my employees, and it, you know, it really affected me a lot. So with the Adderall, I specifically remember one day I walked in. I used to have my Adderall pills in my front drawer at my office. I walked into the office, I opened the drawer. They weren't there. I ran out. I didn't realize it. Because just, your mind is chaos. You talked about chaos before. That's a state of mind when you're on Adderall. So I called the doctor up immediately, and I'm like, hey, you know, I left a message. They weren't in yet. It was 8 a.m. They didn't call me. It was noon came. I'm watching the hours tick, waiting for their call. They hadn't called me. So I got in my car and I drove 30 minutes to the doctor's office, showing up like they would just see me. And I stood in line. There were like, I remember it clear as day. There were 4 people in front of me. It felt like an hour until I got up to the receptionist. And I'm like, look, I got to see Dr. Berman. You don't understand. My Adderall prescription is up. I have to see the doctor. And she's like, you can't see the doctor. She's like, we got your voicemail from 8 o'clock this morning. What are you doing here? We've been so busy, we haven't had a chance to call you back, right? The doctor's booked solid for 3 days straight. He can't see you. I remember walking back to my car, my heart beating like so fast and just like, oh my God, what the hell am I going to do? And I sat in my car, and that was the moment that I realized how irrational I was and how there was nothing I could do about it. The doctor couldn't see me for 3 days. I'm acting irrational. I'd leave a message for the doctor, then I drive a half an hour, just show up, begging them to see me. That was the moment that I realized, like, no, I don't have a problem. I'm addicted to Adderall. And that's when I started saying to myself, man, I got to stop. And so for the next 3 days, I remember how much calmer I was in my office, how I reacted in a totally different way with my employees, how I led from a place of where I actually listened to them and didn't cut them off halfway through their sentence because I'm like, I already know what you're going to say, right? I mean, how many times, right? I already know what you're going to say, you know, whether it's to a loved one, to an employee, or whatever. That's how I was all the time. But I wasn't like that when I was off the Adderall. And that's when I decided I'm done. I'm done with Adderall. I'm not getting that prescription. I'm not going back to that doctor. And I'm done after 7 years of taking it every single day.
Wow. You know, and those are breaking moments, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the self-recognition I was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that, you know, and I tell you, this is deep to listen to. And those of you that are listening, and if you're in the podcast, you're listening on the live show, you know, there's these moments in time where we have these breaking points. We're like, there's nowhere, something's got to change. But I tell you, this topic of this Adderall, you know, I worked with a pharmaceutical company for 10 years, and I didn't even realize the danger, right, that we were doing to people, prescribing these medications. And every day, this kind of stuff is prescribed to kids, right, to people to control something that is already a label that can really be controlled by just self-awareness. I mean, it's a real story. And so share with us that moment. So here you had a breaking moment. So now, how did you go from I'm no longer taking this to now I'm going to start making a change? And of course you had to sell that business. And I know just recently this happened. You were in Bali, like saying you're just closing the deal. And now to writing this book. I mean, like, how did you go from I'm no longer taking this now to writing this book and changing other people's lives with your story and helping more men and others get off of the addictions and get into balance and, you know, changing their habits?
Yeah, so I actually was still taking Adderall while I started writing this book. So, and at the same time, I've been through addiction my whole life, and I wanted to start because I'm a part of a lot of entrepreneur organizations, and I just see with a lot of my friends, they're all addicted to something, and it's usually something very unhealthy. So I decided I wanted to start an interview show called Fate, F-A-T-E, from addict to entrepreneur. And I wanted to start interviewing former addicts who are now entrepreneurs and start digging into the similarities and the traits that we share as addicts. And if those traits are used and pointed in the right direction, we can be some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world. And I've interviewed some great people like Joe Polish, who started the Genius Network, and Mike Lindell, who started MyPillow.com, sold 30 million pillows, and Cas Marte, this guy was a drug kingpin, got thrown in jail, and now he started ConFit, where, you know, it's a workout app, and you get matched up with ex-cons, and they keep you on track and everything. And it's just brilliant stuff that's making change and impact in the world. And so I was already kind of doing some of this work, yet I was still taking all that Adderall and everything and being out of control. When I finally made the shift, it actually started, of all places, in Bali. So not when I met you, that was my second trip to Bali. 2.5 years ago was my first trip. And it was with the same group, Unconventional Life. And I heard two people, Jackie and Justin, they were sitting on a panel talking about flow. And I was like, what the hell are they talking about? And it was like flow being the premise of living an effortless life by following your intuition. And if it's not a hell yes, it should be an F no in everything you do in your life. And I just lot of things like that. And they were giving all these crazy examples of how they've been sent all over the world living this way. And I was absolutely miserable at the time. I was in this lawsuit. I was dealing with this Adderall addiction and smoking weed every night. And I talked to them after, and I resisted everything they said because, from the East Coast, you're basically taught energy people, astrology, flow, like any of that.
Very.
It's all she nonsense. They're like trying to scam you, right? So I would never even talk to these people. I would if I saw someone talking or heard it, I'd walk away. And so I resisted it. Then they talked to me. I still called them out on I thought it was bullshit. But then I just, on my flight home, I remember saying to myself over and over and over, would it be so bad to live a different way?
Mm.
That one line I kept repeating to myself, and I said, screw it, I'm going to take their course. So it was $1,000. I took their online course, like 8 or 10 weeks. We went through this whole thing of clearing out limiting beliefs, and you're actually doing some tapping, some EMDR type things. Again, I thought it was all weird, but I'm dropping judgment at the door, and I'm doing it. And I leaned into it, and things started shifting in my life. And I was able to start manifesting things. I started seeing these synchronicities in my life. And eventually, and I was so much more positive. Like, I grew up as just like having a chip on my shoulder. When I would walk down the street in New York and somebody would walk the other way and they would make eye contact with me, I would think, what the F are you looking at? Instead of being like, hi, how are you? Have a great day. It was, what the F are you looking at? That was who wants to live like that? It's such a heavy way to live. So all of a sudden I was feeling so much better and I was lighter. I was just lighter. And that's when I started shifting my mindset and all right, when I am dead and buried, nobody's going to give an F if I win or lose this lawsuit. I have got to get out of this lawsuit. So it did take me time, okay? Even though I had these tools now, my ego was still in this state of, well, I can't let her win. And so I still had to go get through that. It took me some time, but I did get through it. And I settled the lawsuit and sold the company. And that's when I went back, because I had put the book on hold. That's when I went back and I finished the book. And then I was able to actually add a lot more value to the book because I had gone through these lessons and mistakes. And I had strong takeaways that I could actually give value. Instead of just telling my story, I can now add value to the audience about there's different ways to think and approach these things. And I know that's a long-winded answer to your question, but what some of those things are, the habit, I have a chapter in the book, it's called The Habit of Habit Making. Okay. And that is one of the keys to getting out of any compulsive or negative thought process and behavior. We have to form strong habits, and then you're not always going to want to do these, even if they're positive, you're not always going to want to do the same things all the time. So you have to be flexible enough to interchange them with other positive things that you can put into your life that are also habits. And that's why I call it the habit of habit making, because all your habits aren't going to be the same. You're going to evolve. We all change. So you just want to be looking out for other things that really fulfill you. And the way you do that is through curiosity. The power of curiosity, I can't even tell you how it's changed my life, because the biggest lesson I learned is don't have a negative impression about something you've never tried because you heard somebody else tell you something, because your friends don't like it, because it doesn't resonate with them. No, go and experience it and make your mind up for yourself. Tap into the curiosity tap into the curiosity Hannah Leigh has, okay? Because she's still a kid, even though she's an adult, even though she's a kick-ass, crazy, superwoman, right? But tap into that curiosity where she's like, I'm going to design something nobody's ever designed in the world with this fabric that they said I couldn't design it with, and it's good for the environment and all that stuff. That's the curiosity. Curiosity we had as a child that we tend to lose as we get older, and we're society and people around us influence us.
Wow. I love this. You are getting so much love on the live stream. I mean, piles of love. And everyone is really just impressed with this idea of curiosity. I mean, it's funny, we always say, like, you know, dance like a kid or be open and let yourself go, but it's really being open to that curiosity that anything is possible. And even as adults, especially as entrepreneurs, like, we do get stuck, and we get stuck in our same ways. I don't care if it's addiction to Adderall, cocaine, drugs, exercise, whatever it might be. There's still something that holds you back, that you're using, that keeps you from stepping into that purest levels of curiosity. And I absolutely love that. And hearing what's inside of your book, I think it's very powerful, because it's that mindset shift. You know, several of the audience here has said, Catherine, she's like, it's not mindset. In the beginning, I thought it was actually, you know, BS. I'm smart enough, right? I can do this because I'm smart. I can just, it has nothing to do with you're smart. You're smart. It has everything to do with what's between you and how you feel about it, how you connect. And when we numb ourselves with all these things that stop us from actually connecting to who we are and those that want to connect with us, like, that's where the gaps happen. That's where business and things are not in flow. They're pushing and we're pushing. Everyone wonders, like, how does things just all of a sudden just happen so well for you? I'm like, because I just let it happen, because I love it. I want to connect with people, right? And that's what you're doing. And I want to hear more, like, what in more depth with your books. I want to get to the name of the book. Like, how can they find it? Is it on shelves yet? You know, like, what is the crux? Like, what is that one big thing they're going to get from your book? Because the love that you're getting right now and the connection to the story is deserves to be shared more with more people.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You said one thing I just want to follow up on, because, you know, we took that, like, I developed the program that I'm releasing with, actually right after this book, under my Fate platform, to work with entrepreneurs and business leaders who are dealing with compulsive or addictive behaviors that are affecting them negatively as leaders, family members, and friends. And it's a basic 4-step process. And we talked about 2 of the steps already. We talked about recognition. We talked about curiosity. The next one is action. And the last one is what because you have to put these things into action. And the last one is what you just mentioned. It's connection. Connection and community. And those are so important, because you're gonna slip up. Okay, we're human. Like, shit happens, right? We're going to negative. Look, we got our brains, our minds are the most powerful thing we have. We can convince ourselves of anything, positive or negative, right? And it's the mind that can drift off sometimes. And that's why the connection and community is so important. You need to surround yourself with people who are like-minded individuals in a lot of different areas, because you're not going to have everything in common with everybody just because they're an entrepreneur. Like, and I'm part of a big entrepreneur group, or several of them. That doesn't mean that they agree with my mindset practices, and that doesn't mean they enjoy my eating habits or my physical, you know, how I take care of myself physically. So for me, like, I don't believe in balance. I believe in fulfillment. And the way I look at it is, we all have buckets, and they need to be filled a certain level. Okay. And when they're all filled, we get fulfillment. So the fulfillment I talk about is in all those areas. You have your family fulfillment. You have your business fulfillment. You have your health fulfillment, your fitness fulfillment. And health and fitness are 2 different things, like eating and then actually taking care and moving. You got to move every day, right? And you have those fulfillments. Then you have your mindset fulfillment. And all of these buckets every week, I need filled halfway at least. And that will give me fulfillment, right? And it's so important to have tribes. The tribes give you the connection and the community that we're talking about. So I have an entrepreneurial tribe. I have this unconventional life tribe that I mentioned to you, that's made up of digital nomads, of business people like I used to be in corporate world, of astrologers, of healers, of, you know, retreat people. Like, I don't have an eclectic group of people like that in any of my other groups. Then I do a lot of fundraising. I've done for Leukemia Lymphoma Society. I actually ran 4 marathons with them, and I climb out freaking Kilimanjaro with them, raising money. Like, that's another tribe that fulfills my fundraising, my ability to give back tribe. Like that's very important also, because that can really ground you. And if you're ever having a bad day and feeling sorry for yourself and having a freaking pity party, go volunteer. That'll change your mind real quickly.
Absolutely. And I think this is probably one of the most important pieces, right? Like we've got our unstoppable tribe, like the people that have been with us forever. And there's some that I've known for ages, right? And they've got all different backgrounds. But when you know you've got a connection and community, I think that's one thing that connects and brings you together. And I love this, Michael. I'm really excited to get your book and to read it. Can you share with everyone, how can they find it? Like,
yes.
Let's do it again. It's Chasing the High. Where is it at? Can they get it on Amazon? How do we get this?
Yeah, so Tuesday, it's going to be released on Amazon. Just go to chasingthehighbook.com. So easy. Click on it. It'll take you right to the Amazon page. So this is the book, Chasing the High. And that is actually a picture that I took from the top of Mount Kilimanjaro when I climbed it, which was amazing that I got like the exact picture and they were able to replicate it on the book. So I'm so stoked.
Amazing.
So it's chasingthehighbook.com. And
awesome. We'll make sure that we put this in the replay. It'll be also in the podcast. We'll make sure everyone gets a hold of it. And I'll share this as well, because I think the world needs more stories. We need more real people that are doing powerful things, sharing their gifts. And I learn so much every time I pick up a book or learn from someone else's stories. I don't read very well when it's just a technical book. I read from stories and we all learn from stories. And to me, that's exactly what building, creating a legacy, sexy brand is. And I love that Your Message Matters shirt is sharing, and more than ever. Michael Dash, it's been so great to have you here. I do have 3 final questions that I always ask of any of my guests. So if you're ready for it, I'm going to fire away at you, all right? Well, at the top of your head answers.
Wait, hold on. Buddha, you ready? We're ready. We are ready.
All right. Are you ready? Okay. Red, white, or water? What's your favorite?
Water.
Tabasco or sriracha? Or are you a non-spice guy?
I'm a non-spice person, but if I had to do I would say light sriracha.
Oh, okay. Light sriracha. I took you to be a bit more spicy than Michael Dash. That's right.
Personality. Yes.
All right, last one.
Acid reflux, it's burden.
Okay, that's true. I just turned 46. I'm like, oh man, like the spice is starting to pay a little bit, right? As you get a little older. So all right, I might have to start changing that question. All right, last one. Beach or mountains? What do you prefer?
Hey, I was in Utah for 11 years. I was surrounded by mountains, and I left so I could be a block from the beach. The ocean does something that what nothing else in the environment does. It's just so calming, and like you can hear it roaring at you and roaring with you. So ocean, 100%.
All right. Well, we're gonna put you in our tally of the guests that come on to help me run the show, and we're leaning. We're pretty balanced lately on our decisions. Well, Michael, it's so great to have you here. Congratulations on the book. Congratulations on you being who you are and how you are contributing back to the world. If we all just look at ourselves and say, how can I help change someone else's life today? And you're doing it, my man, and I love it. So I want to thank you very much. We've got incredible amounts of love coming through in the live stream. I know the podcast. Please go find Michael Dash. Where can they also find you? If you have a website or Facebook, can they reach out to you directly?
So my website is Michael G Dash, and that's spelled out MICHAELGDASH.com. And on there, you can contact me. I'm on Instagram, MDASH1, and Michael-1 on Facebook. So find me. If anybody out there is struggling, if anybody has compulsive behavior problems, addiction problems, anything, you can reach out to me directly. I'm glad to speak to you. I'm glad to let you know what worked for me. It can work for you as well.
Powerful. I love that. And make sure you guys do that, because I truly know who this man is. I know his heart. I know what he's looking to do. And I think in your bio, it said you're on a mission to help 1 million people in the next 5 years make themselves through addictions and help them come out the other side. Because I tell you what, entrepreneurs, we are powerful. And if we can take and hone in that force that we've got inside and make it for good, wow, the world will change. So I love it. All right, guys, I'm going to leave you with this. Remember one thing. If you're going to create a brand, create a sexy brand. And if you're going to be anything, be unstoppable. Cheers,
Unstoppable!
yes. Bye, Michael Dash. I love you, my man. Bye, everyone. Cheers.